Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a match preview as Villa travel to Brighton on Sunday at 2 o'clock. This show is in association with BetMate and we'll come on to them later on, as we always do. I'm Dan Bardell, joined by Neil Dunworth to talk through, to look forward to the game, and we will have a little bit of a talk through the Manchester United game last night, as that feels pretty prevalent, Neil, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I think Unai Emery kind of showed his cards with a lot of his selections last night as to where he kind of felt Brighton were coming from at this weekend, and he showed them the respect. And look, I know it would have been great to win a cup, but we didn't, and we were in with a shout, we were in with a shot, and individual errors cost us. And look, that's football, I suppose. But we do look forward to Sunday, and I think 3 points are going to be worth more to us in the short term than beating Manchester United and then potentially having a heart-wrenching loss to Burnley in the next round, which Aston Villa are always capable of.
I do kind of agree with you, but I've got to admit, I found last night pretty frustrating. Not against Emery, because he's made changes. He's done what he thinks he needs to do with squad management. I guess the big one, and I'm not trying to victimise people and pick on them, but the big one will be the goalkeeper. Knowing Emi Martinez, he would want to play, even though there's a World Cup coming up. I know Emi Martinez would probably have wanted to have played in that game because he wants to play every game. He played in the last round against Bolton, which we probably didn't need him in that game. I know that was a different manager, but he played in that round. And then we get drawn away to Manchester United and he doesn't play. And I don't want to sound like Roy Keane here. I'm sure he said this at some point, but does your goalkeeper really need a rest?
Yeah, I think you have to agree with that, because really kind of the killer blow was that pass from Robin Olsen, which was 8 yards wide and 15 yards past the man that he was trying to pass it to. And look, that really put us in the back foot. We were weathering storms. He just made a brilliant save. Leon Bailey had made the dribbling run, the slaloming run of the season so far. He passed the ball to Ollie Watkins, and we looked dangerous on the counter-attack, but once they scored that goal, it was good night Irene at that stage. I think it was really kind of a deflation because of the way it came about. But and I know, look, hindsight is 2020, and maybe Martinez does that as well. Who knows? But it was Robin Olsen that did it, and Martinez is exponentially better than Robin Olsen. That's not being derogatory to Olsen. It's just a fact. Martinez is in the top five goalkeepers, I would say, in the Premier League over the last 3 years. And look, when he's not there and we're playing a new style of passing the ball out from defence, these things happen, unfortunately. But I think that was the killer blow, and I'd be very surprised if other people didn't agree with me.
Yeah, I mean, in Olsen's defence, he, like you say, he made that a good save just before. He was involved in the build-up for one of our goals, with a nice pass. So he's capable of making a nice pass because he did it for that goal, and I'd have been praising him in my head when he did that. I think he came out just before as well and just completely just fumbled one, like a relatively straightforward catch, and he fumbled them. And I know it's difficult when you're a goalkeeper who doesn't play very much. You're coming in and playing the odd game. It is tough. It's not like just being a number one that plays every week. I think it does make your job exponentially harder as a goalkeeper. But what he did was pretty basic. And in the end, I think that is what cost us. And it just felt like the defence was a bit more antsy than I think it would have been had Martinez been behind him. And it's just my opinion. I don't think your goalkeeper needs a rest.
I agree. And if we think back to the last game of the season last year against Man City, and Robin Olsen had to step in, for the first 15 minutes, he looked like he was really, really nervous and jittery. Now, played some really good stuff, made some really good saves. And yes, we went down to lose that game. And I can't remember any of the goals if they were his issue, but one of the big statistics was 11 goals conceded in 3 games played or something.
That's not good.
It's not good, and it's not good. But I think the 10-15 minute jitters that we saw on that from that game of Man City, they were elongated last night, and they went on for more than 10-15 minutes. They went on for 80-90 minutes. And I think one of the biggest things is, well, obviously I'm not going to write a book on this, or no one's going to buy it anyway, because it's so blatantly obvious that confidence is probably the number one skill a goalkeeper can have. Because if a goalkeeper is confident he's going to stop the shots, he's not going to have that moment of insecurity or that moment of hesitation. And I just felt that Olsen was consistently hesitant throughout the game last night. And look, we're not panning him or anything like that. There's a lot of people saying, it's a bad night at the office. the great thing about it is he's a sub goalkeeper, and we may not see him an awful lot. But the bad thing about it, sorry, the good thing about it is he's a sub goalkeeper. We may not see him about it. But the bad thing about it is when we need him, we really need him to be ready and right on that day. And look, last night was just one of the days that, as I say, that pass, those a couple of fumbles and stuff like that, they don't instill confidence. But he's an international standard goalkeeper. I don't know whether he is the guy that Emery's going to want going forward. As I say, he's only just in the door, but he is expendable. I think every sub goalkeeper within the league is probably expendable at this moment in time. And as I say, we've got other areas of the field we need to concentrate on. I think more than our sub goalkeeper, based on the fact that we hope we never have to use him.
I mean, Emery will have learned stuff last night about a few players. Obviously, he made a fair few changes to his side, and a lot of players got a run out last night. So he probably used it as a learning experience, and he'll have picked things up. I mean, look, from what I know, Olsen was a Langer signing. I think that's pretty obvious on the face of it, isn't it? That Olsen is a Langer signing there. Gerrard, when he came in again, I believe that Gerrard identified that Jed Steer wasn't strong enough. Sorry, there's a cat in here, and we could probably done with her in goal last night. We may have done a little bit better, but so Gerrard, I believe that Gerrard's identified that we needed a new number 2 goalkeeper. Olsen was the man that Langer picked. Olsen to come in, and I thought he struggled last night. I thought one of the main problems was him being kind of glued to his line, and I think even the 4th goal, I think that was showed. Your goalkeeper's got to be operating a bit further up in the modern day. And we saw on Sunday the way Martinez was playing with his feet and just the confidence that he gives the side. Martinez is more of a modern day goalkeeper than Olsen is. There was the one where he was like chasing the ball and he ended up having to slide to keep it in. He just didn't look comfortable all night. And yet, I'm like, it wouldn't surprise me now if a new number 2 goalkeeper is added to the list of what Emery would like, or if Jed Steer, when he can get fit again, puts himself back in contention. Because Jed Steer, for me, is a good backup goalkeeper because he's probably about 7 out of 10 at everything. He doesn't suffer with confidence issues. He just
10 out of 10 at staring, then.
Yeah, no, 10 out of 10 at staring. Yeah, he just does everything relatively well. Jed Steer, he's got an inner belief in himself, I think, and he just does the basics well as a goalkeeper, which I think is what you need as a number 2. But we shouldn't spend the show picking on Villa's number 2.
No, it's a Brighton preview, so we should move on.
I'm disappointed to go out though, because I really felt that was a winnable game last night. And when we've gone 2-1 up, if you'd told me we were going to lose that game 4-2, I wouldn't have particularly believed you, because I thought we'd started to play some good stuff in the second half. Worked a couple of nice goals. The passing for the second goal, I mean, obviously it's ended up being an own goal, was brilliant. It was nice to see Watkins score a clips finish. That's something that's been levelled at him before, that he's not cool enough in front of goal, and that was a cool finish on his wrong foot last night. So there was plenty of positives, and I'm still really positive about Villa under Emery moving forward. But you're kind of right now. The big one is now Brighton, because if we can go to Brighton and get a win, we leave ourselves going into the World Cup break in a pretty good place now.
Yeah, I'd even be happy with a draw against Brighton. I just think it's just like Brighton are flying high in the league. They've got a manager who's come in who like he was ridiculed for different reasons that Emery, but he was ridiculed for the reason that a lot of people just felt they didn't know who he was. And they were like, oh, what are Brighton doing? Brighton are the best run club in Brighton are probably up there in the top 3 best run clubs in European football. They're absolutely fantastic. Look at their scouting system. Look at how they're able to roll in manager after manager. Potter went out. They didn't panic. They got somebody. I'm sure the media weren't roaring for Sean Dyche to go into Brighton, because they completely couldn't say that because of the style of football they play. They went and they got De Zerbi. He's come in. He's had some good games. He's had some bad games, but he's coming into a brand new league and he hasn't looked out of place, I think. So Brighton are an interesting prospect. I still think we can always go to Brighton and win. My one player of irrational fear for the Brighton team, for some strange reason, is Solly Marsh. He always seems to pop up with a goal against Aston Villa. But I think if we were to come away from the Brighton game without losing at the weekend, I think it would be a positive. Because, as I say, we're only today is day number 8 of the Unai Emery experience. And when we go to Sunday, it'll be day number 10 of the Unai Emery experience. And we won't know what the actual experience is until we get out the other side of the World Cup. So any points we can pick up at the weekend. And I was exactly the same opinion of United last week. Any points we could pick up will be a positive. And I think very much the same for this weekend coming, because Brighton are a together team. They're They're a very cohesive unit, and they've got some really sparkling players like Moise Caicedo, that fullback that you signed, Purvis, used to sign in Football Manager.
Me and Rollo discovered him.
Exactly. Well, Unai Emery discovered him with Villarreal. That
True,
was so you might be as good as Unai Emery. I don't know. That's for a different podcast.
I wouldn't like to say.
But yeah, they've got some good players, and they're scoring South American markets at the moment, and they're picking up players on the cheap. So very well run club. But I still hope that well, obviously I hope that we take points off them at the weekend.
You're right about them being well run. They are right up there. They operate very, very savvily in the modern day. A modern day forward thinking club for a club of that size. They've certainly been run a lot better than Villa over the years. Brighton, and everything they've done should be praised. They've also found their shooting boots in recent weeks. That was one of the things that they were struggling with when De Zerbi first came in. Suddenly, as they're about to play Villa, they found their shooting boots again. They've won a few games under him now. They went through a bit of a sticky patch where they couldn't win a game under him. They've now won their last couple. Obviously, won at Wolves last weekend. But the encouraging thing for me that I saw from the game last weekend is that, Wolves are hardly prolific. If Wolves can score 2 against them, that means they definitely can be got at. And Emery will have been watching hours and hours of footage. He'll identify a plan. Wouldn't surprise me if we didn't see Villa playing out from the back like they did against Manchester United. It might be something completely different against Brighton, because I've lost it now, but someone was talking in the comments about Man U didn't press us, Brighton will press us. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Emery has a completely different plan for this game, and we don't see that playing out from the back. Maybe we do go a little bit direct and try and utilise the pacey players that we have in Watkins and Bailey. Bailey looked lively when he came on last night, had a little bit of a rest as well. Good to see him come on the pitch and make an impact, because he definitely made an impact when he came up. There's the comment from Matt C. So yeah, I think Emery now will have a completely different plan for Brighton, because they're quite a unique team to go and play, really, with the way, again, a bit like we did last week, that the way they rotate the players, constantly changing formation. Brighton are an interesting proposition.
Absolutely, and I think it's really about getting to grips with their midfield. That'll be task number one for this Villa team. I think Villa really missed Leandro Dendoncker yesterday, and it's mad, because you look back at the first Manchester United game, and he had minimal amount of touches. I think he was like had the least amount of touches of any player who played over 70 minutes in the game. But the amount of space that he clogs up, you look at the goal that you look at the goal that McTominay scored, and the run that he made from midfield. It was a straight run. He didn't have to jink past any players. He didn't have to arc his run. He didn't have to take any angles. He just ran straight, and he got in there, and he got a clip on it. And look, fantastic finish for him. I actually thought it was handball, because I didn't think there was any way he could get his foot to it. But Leo Dendoncker, he blocks up that space. And yeah, he's not going to turn around. He's not going to play a 60-yard Rabona over the top onto an on-running Ollie Watkins. We don't need that. What we need at the moment is those hard-working players. And I wouldn't be surprised. And Matt C is a comment up there again. Matt C's on fire, by the way, in the comments.
Oh, really? He should be on the show.
Midfield of Luis, Dendoncker, Kamara, and Ramsey, I think probably and very, very easily could be the midfield at the weekend. Playing more of a 4-3-1-2 or 4-3-3 or whatever, but like that midfield would allow us to hunker down in the middle, and yet we still have the opportunity to be able to break with Luis and be able to break with Jacob Ramsey. And look, if that was the midfield, I wouldn't feel too upset about it. But that's the great thing about Unai Emery, as you say, is that he's going to set up differently for teams, and we will have lots of conversation around the team sheets when they come out, and we will have lots of conversation within the first 10 minutes of games, because we'll be seeing things that we haven't seen before. We haven't seen before of this Villa team for years and years and years. So just from a tactical point of view, it might be good, it might be bad, but it'll be interesting. And I think I'll take interesting when I'm picking up points over Blandon not picking up points any day of the week.
I think that would mean Buendia not playing, which I'm presuming, as he was on the bench last night, that he's probably going to play. Maybe be a big ask for Kamara to play again. I was pleased to see him back last night. He's not fully there at the moment, but you can see what a classy operator he is in the midfield. I think him and Luiz is going to be a hell of a partnership moving forward. But you're right about Dendoncker as well. think Dendonker's got to play at the moment. He just fills the spaces. He does a lot of stuff that people probably won't see. Just takes up good positions and cuts off things before they can even get there without actually touching the ball, if that makes sense. I think he's really pivotal. I noticed last night when we were defending, so Manchester United were attacking down the left-hand side at one point. So Ramsey was playing right midfield when we were off the ball last night. He'd then tuck in and basically become a right back. Cash would tuck inside, and you'd end up with like a back five when you're defending. Then everyone else kind of shifties across. Shifty's a word. Everyone shifts across when they're attacking down that side. And it's before we let in a load of goals, that was working quite well. The goals were just basic last night, but those goals, they won't happen on Sunday. I don't see us playing in a way that allows that to happen.
Do you know what goal killed me last night? And I don't want to go back to it again, but it really killed me because, yes, the Olsen goal was what it was. It was a complete nutter. You could look at it and go, oh my God, what's he done there? But the Rashford goal, yes, it comes 19 seconds after the first goal. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't. That was the first goal. But the Rashford goal, it was a simple ball over the top that didn't quite make it. And then Chambers was caught a million miles out of position. This isn't me having a go at Chambers. It's just what happened. Caught a million miles out of position. He does a deadly run to get back to try and get a block in on Rashford again. But at that stage, it's too late, and he just hammers it into the back of the net. And that's where I think Leander Dendoncker comes in. He's 6'2", 6'3", and he clogs up that space in the middle. Could be, but he clogs up that space in the middle of midfield, and he holds his position, and he just doesn't really move out of that position. And that's a skill in itself in the modern day Premier League. And I'm not saying he would have completely stopped that, but what it would have allowed Chambers to do is maybe defend behind as opposed to defending in front, specifically for those long balls that come down and those long balls over the top that don't make it, because that ball didn't make it. And I think it came to, I can't remember who it dropped to or who got the flick on or whatever, but Chambers was like his back turned to it at that stage. He wasn't really sure what was going on outside him. And look, that'll happen to people who are coming in rusty. It's not me having a dig on.
Yeah, I think that was the big problem last night.
It was a rust. And the back four has never played together before. They've certainly never played with that goalkeeper either. And that cohesive unit of that five, that's really important. Brighton have that in spades, and Villa would hope to get to that over the World Cup period as the Unai Emery experience trottles on into December. So I think there's a lot of context in it, but for that, some of the errors we saw last night were very much just because of people who were playing. First of all, Chambers was playing on the left-hand side as opposed to, or he was Chambers was on the right throughout the game, I think. But what I'm saying is there was two right-footed centre halves there. And when I'm not a massive exponent to that, it does happen sometimes, especially when people aren't used to playing with each other, that it can cause consternation. We just saw it there. It was just an easy one. But I think Brighton will be more on the ground. They'll play the ball a bit more on the ground. You know, you shackle Trossard, you shackle the likes of Pascal Gross, and you make sure that you can kind of drag the likes of Moise Caicedo out of the way. And that will make things easier in midfield. So that's why I think midfield is going to be really, really important for Aston Villa. And it'll probably be really important for Aston Villa in every single game we play this season. But against Brighton, I can see a path to victory if we do shackle that midfield. But we haven't done so since we've gotten back into the Premier League in probably any game that we've played. So it's going to be a big ask for Unai Emery to be able to do that on a 3-day turnaround. But miracles never cease to exist.
I mean, all those goals were bad last night, but I think if you've got your normal back five in there with Martinez in goal, Cash, Dean at fullbacks, Konsa and Mings, and then probably Dendoncker as well, I don't think a lot of those goals happen. They're just a terrible collection of goals. You'd be hard pressed to see a worse collection of goals for a team to score. Really. Even the first one, you know, the ball, just a simple ball over the top about 20 seconds after you've scored Augustinson in absolutely no man's land. But again, he hasn't really been playing. So the people aren't up there. We pushed high up with a fullback that didn't seem particularly blessed with pace to me. You know, all the goals were bad. You won't see that kind of thing on Sunday. So I'm still buzzing from Sunday, and I think, you know, there's a good chance we'll go to Brighton and get something. I'm relatively confident, Neil, that we can go there and pick something up, because I think we showed on Sunday that when we've got our best 11 out there, we're a good outfit. So I fancy us. I mean, I'm going, which is always a risk to an away game that I'm going. I'm not with Dolan.
Dolan's not, though. Dolan's staying at home.
That gives us a little bit more chance. My record without Dolan is a bit better than my record with Dolan away from home. So there's a better chance. But yeah, I'm confident. I'm looking forward to working in Brighton, and I fancy us. Let's have a quick word from our sponsors, BetMate. I say a quick word from them. It's absolutely not a quick word from them. It's just me rambling through the team that I've picked on their app ahead of the week, and I've probably taken the producer a little bit by surprise. So we'll give him some time. We won't get on his back. We'll let him get it up on the screen.
Where's
I know, who am I?
Bardell, and what have you
Who
done
am
with
I?
him?
The
Not
time I've
getting on
decided I'm not going to
Adam's
get on his
back.
back. I've decided I'm not going to get on his back as well. And it's the longest it's ever taken to get it on screen as well. You try and be nice to people, Neil, and look what happens. They let you down. Come on, Adam. Is it coming? What do you reckon now?
Oh, it's definitely coming. I've got 100% faith in Adam. Wait a minute. We've got a chat box. There looks like there's a chat in the chat box.
Have we?
Give me two ramble. Okay, yeah.
Oh, it's there. It's there. And I've opened the chat box and it's made my screen go funny. There we go. So, BetMate, can you beat Dan? Yes, you probably can. This is me picking my team last night. So I made my way to the £750 Brighton v Aston Villa pot. Luckily, I've got some free credit, so I joined via that medium. But do gamble responsibly if you are going to join this game. It's just a little bit of fun, a bit like fantasy football, but you get a chance to win yourself a little bit of money. So I went Sanchez in goal, but I did go back and change that in the end. Luca Dean, because we know he's on set pieces now. I then moved down and I went for Webster because I remembered him scoring a goal against Villa at Villa Park a few years ago. Had to be Ramsey in midfield after his goal last week. And then Alexis McAllister, because I think he's on dead balls. I quite like him as a player. Then up top, it was Bailey and Trossard. I then went to pick my bench and had a bit of a change of heart. I don't know what I did there. I clicked on Sanchez, but I had a bit of a change of heart, I think, at this point. Put Martinez in goal instead of Sanchez. So Sanchez ended up on the bench. I wasn't happy that I had more Brighton players than Villa. Then is that Purvis, my man, on the bench, my football manager hero, makes his way onto the substitute bench. Then I went with Pascal Gross, who scored, I think, 4 or 5 goals already this season. And then Ollie Watkins as my last sub. And Leon Bailey as captain, because I think he's looked electric over the last few appearances. And that's my BetMate team, Neil. What do you think of that?
I like it. I like
Thank
it, Dan.
you.
It's very, do you know what? I love the symmetry of it, where you've got all the Villa players on one side and you've all the Brighton players on the other side. And
Looks nice, doesn't it?
you know, I like a man who takes that attention to detail into hand.
Yeah. OCD
Yeah.
fans will be absolutely buzzing.
OCDFC.
With it. OCDFC will absolutely love it. So yeah, there's all the information. Try and join the league. See if you can beat me. I mean, it won't be difficult, but yeah, have a go. Let's finish with predictions then, Neil. What's the score going to be on Sunday? I mean, look at the Villa fans, relatively confident looking at that, but I think they're always quite confident on these polls that we do.
I'm going to go with I think this Aston Villa team is, well, the last 2 games we scored goals. And I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. I've done 2 neutral shows yesterday, The Athletic and Who Scored, and I predicted Villa to win 2-1 on both. So I'm going to stick with that. I fancy myself to have a good away day for a change. I'm going to go with it. Russell Dent has just come in and said Louise is suspended on Saturday. He's not. He would have been suspended for the next round of the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, the Carabao.
Yeah, he's he got.
Two bookings in the Carabao Cup and only 1 in the league, so there's only 3 bookings overall.
Yeah, he's not missing on Sunday, thankfully, because I think he's one of Villa's most effective players at the moment. So that does us. Thanks ever so much for joining me, Neil, and thanks to everyone who's tuned in at this strange time slot to watch us as well. I was actually surprised how many people were watching at one point. I still feel half asleep myself. So thanks ever so much for coming on. Thanks to Adam for producing. We'll be back with a post-match pint probably on Monday at some point, I would think, because I doubt I'll be in a state to do one on Sunday from my hotel room. But yeah, have a great weekend and up the Villa.